Jessica used to love coming down to the Ford, bringing her little sister along and coming out and showing the dogs. So obviously when she was really poorly, it was somewhere we could drive to.
Jess was born with cystic fibrosis, and over a number of years she got iller and iller, and in about, I think, 2014 she had a lung transplant.
She was quite a well child till the age of 10. She never thought she was really sick. She used to have lots of hospital admissions, but in her head she was still okay. Then when she reached about the age of 12, she became a lot sicker and we were transferred to Great Ormond Street for an assessment. It then actually took Jess 2 years to make her mind up. Because she was over the age of year 10, it was her choice, and we never felt we would push her into doing something that she didn't want to do.
But Jess was still kind of carrying on, not ignoring that, but was just trying to carry on as much as she could without in the back of her mind, but also still wrestling with, should I have a transplant or not? And that she was in I suppose, a difficult position for a 13, 14-year-old girl.
She had a lot of friends that she talked to that had obviously had the transplant and had come through it. But she also had a friend who had had transplant and also lost her life as well. So she saw everything from both sides, and it was one of those unspoken things. She wouldn't actually tell us. She just wrote a note saying, yes, put me on the list. And she just passed that to us one Christmas morning, I think it was. We had 2 false calls, which both came in the early hours of the morning. And then we finally got the call at 4 a.m. on the October morning, the 9th. But that just made her want it more. I think it affirmed that she was doing the right thing, because when you're given the chance to do something and then it's snatched away, it really did hit her quite hard. So when we had the 3rd call and everything went through, it was just amazing, yeah. She was in intensive care for 2 weeks, I think, or 10 days. And then she was moved, obviously, to the normal ward once her chest drains were out. Obviously she had a breathing tube in while she was in there, and the first breath she took, she packed a donor.
Jessica Paddock was a young lady who I was aware of several years ago, and she was clearly a very bright, articulate young lady who had begun a new life after her lung transplant. Her transplanted lungs were rejecting her, and there was no other course of action we could take. She was dying. I could see the heartache in her family. Jessica, however, was extraordinarily brave. She's somebody who I'll never ever forget.
Before that, she hadn't kind of made plans, because this is what you're doing. This is the life you've given, and you've just got to deal with it. Whereas now it's like, well, I could, what should I do next? It's a bit like if you lose somebody suddenly, you always said, I'd like 5 more minutes. We were kind of given 4 years of, here's 4 years worth of 5 more minutes to go and do what you want to do.
She was determined that she was going to do a walk in aid of Great Ormond Street with her friend that had also had a lung transplant and 2 other transplant recipients. So 2 months after she was discharged, we drove down to Devon and we did the Tarka Walk Trail, which was 10 miles. And she managed it, and she was even running along going, come on, let's go. I was like struggling to keep up with her, but yeah, massive achievement. That was her first tick. She was just growing up. She was just turning into the most wonderful teenager. She'd got so many plans, but she was sensible. She knew that her lungs wouldn't last her forever. I mean, Jessica changed a lot of people's minds about organ donation. She became an ambassador for Live Life, Give Life. And she had her own website and following called The Girl That Coughs a Lot, because when she had CF, she did cough a lot. And she had thousands and thousands of followers, and quite a lot of those followed her journey, and have gone on the donor list because of Jess, because they saw how it affected her.
In the last 10 years, we've had nearly 30 donations in this hospital, and over 50 organs have been transplanted. That's 50 lives that would have been ruined had it not happened. Sadly, these people would have died regardless, but because of their gift and because of our actions, a huge number of people and their families have got a second chance of life.
My name is Jessica and I had a double lung transplant in October. I was born with a genetic illness called cystic fibrosis, meaning that my lungs, they were just covered in mucus and I just found it really hard to breathe. Over the years I got more sicker, so I then had to be put on the transplant list and wait for a donor lungs to become available. Well, when I was on the list, I had like 2 friends pass away within like a week of each other, and that was quite hard because you want to have a transplant for them, so because they didn't get the call, so you want to kind of live on for them because they wouldn't have wanted me to give up.